What's up, guys? I am Matt, back with another video. Welcome, one and all, to the second annual Best of video. We're going to talk about the best of 2016 today. I realize we're a couple days into 2017. I think I did that last year too. But anyway, I wanted to get all of 2016 soaked in. And now I'm ready to go and to give you guys some of my favorites. If you are a new vapor, welcome to the channel. A lot of people start vaping around this time of year because of New Year's resolutions. You've made an awesome, life-changing choice, and I'll have some more videos coming up for you guys, maybe talking about why vaping is better for you than smoking and la-di-da-di-da, because there is a lot of misinformation out there, but we have a lot of science that's on our side. Also, check out my best vapor products for beginners video that I put out a couple weeks ago. That will be helpful if you're new. And check out our new channel if you guys get a chance, Matt and V. I'll have a link in the description below for that. I think you guys will like it unless you're easily offended. So let's get into it. 2016 was not the best year for vaping. Not really. The Douchebag of the Year award does obviously go to the FDA because of their regulations. I do feel like 2017 is going to be better for us. I do think that we're going to have some wins, and there's some positive stuff that's been happening. So I'm excited and optimistic about how this year is going to go. Now let's go through my favorites. We're going to start with mods. I'll give you my take also on innovation, what kind of new stuff we saw this year and whatnot. And now as far as mods, we really just saw a lot of refinement in 2016. We didn't see a lot of groundbreaking new things. We had temp control. We had things like that. We saw, more and more higher wattage devices, even though I kind of think the watt race is over. But a lot of it was just kind of incremental updates. I got to give a big shout out to the RX series, the RX200S, the RX23. The original RX200 was on my list last year for good reason. They're just really, really solid mods. Some people have had a few issues with the 510s. I think that they have gotten better, and it's still just a very solid mod, and I use a lot when I want like a high wattage mod. So I got to give it to those. I've probably used the RX23 the most out of them, and I actually like it in 2 battery mode. I like the form factor there. Let's talk about the DNA mods. We've seen the DNA 75. I think there's the new DNA 250 or something as well. There's been some really good DNA mods this year. The ones that stood out for me was the C1 D2 by Vape Droid and S-Body. It's a 26650 DNA 75 mod. I use it a ton. It's a super, super solid mod, and it fits into my vaping style a lot. And I think it's cool that we did see more 26650 mods this year. I also liked the Home Tech Slice, and I think that was another good one. Also, I want to give a big shout out to the Bosch 3000. I have a review coming up on those. That's another DNA mod. They're made here in the States. They're really solid mods, very, very cool, and I'll have more to come on those. Another mod that I liked a ton that I've probably used the most towards the last quarter of this year is the Minikin V2. This is a mod that I didn't really like when I first got it. I wasn't a huge fan of having to swipe to unlock and things like that. But for some reason, I keep going back to it. It fits great in the hand. It's been really, really stable for me. And it's just a solid choice for a dual 18650 mod. It goes up to 180 watts. And it's one that I could definitely suggest if you're looking for a dual 18650 mod. Some other mods that I really enjoyed this year were the Vaporesso mods that came out with the Omnia boards. I really, really liked that board. I've tested some of those out the last couple of months, and I really, really enjoy it. I think it's very, very intuitive. It's very stable, and I think they did a great job. The Nebula mod, the Taro Nano, the Attitude Kit. I think there's a few others. And it's a board that they're going to be using, I think, in pretty much majority of their newer mods, and it's one of my favorite new boards, chips, whatever you want to call them, of 2016. Another one that was really popular that I didn't get a ton of time with, but I'll just give it a shout out anyway because I know lots of people loved it, was the Smoke Alien mod. That's one that's been very, very popular, and Smoke definitely upped their game in 2016. Now let's talk about clearamizers. Sub-ohm tanks, pre-built coil tanks, okay? We kind of got a new category out of this now. You got your normal sub-ohm tanks that you still, take lung hits with and use fairly high wattage. And then you have what one of my viewers dubbed the super tanks, and those are like the TFV8 tons of airflow, tons of wattage type tanks. So let's talk about the normal sub-ohm tanks first, and then we'll talk about the super tanks. Now, I am a big Sense fan. I really like the Heracles line. I believe the Heracles Plus was in my last year's video. Still use that a lot this year. I really enjoyed the Pro and the 1.8 ohm ceramic coils. They've been hit and miss for some other people. They just don't fit into some people's vaping style. But for me, they've had some of the best flavor out there with pre-built tanks. I get a nice restricted lung hit, and even the cotton coil heads that comes with it are also very good. So I'm a big fan of the Heracles line. There's like the V2, the Plus, the Weirdo. There's all kinds of them. They're one of my favorite brands when it comes to sub-ohm tanks. Another tank that I really liked this year was the Smoke Big Baby Beast and the normal Baby Beast, although I like the Big Baby better. It was a little bit more chill than the TFV8, although you still got a ton of vapor, a nice open draw, but a little more chill, a little more up my alley, and I really, really dug those tanks. It's still one that I use quite a bit, so big shout out to the Smoke Big Baby and Baby Beast. I always get them mixed up. I think another one we have to mention that was in my video last year, but still definitely held relevance this year was the Aspire Cleto. The original Cleto still sells really, really well. It's got nice flavor, and I think people really like it for its simplicity. It's just easy. There's not many parts, and there's not a lot that goes wrong with them. There has been some reports that they kind of have funky flavor in the beginning. I've had that on a few of my coil heads, but it usually goes away after about a half a tank. And I still think the Cleto's up there with the best of them when it comes to sub-ohm tanks. I'll talk about the bigger one when we talk about the super tanks. Something we first saw last year was the ceramic coil heads, and companies really built on that this year. Vaporesso makes some of the best, especially with their new EUC coils. They've done a great job with those. The S-Stock tank's really good. They have a few others, and I'm really digging those new EUC coils. I like them. They're a little bit smaller than other coils we've seen, but they still give you a nice amount of vapor, a good lung hit on some of them, and the flavor is just top notch, especially with those ceramics. Vaporesso has definitely built on what they started last year, and I think they've done a really nice job. I also enjoyed the Joytech Ultimo when it came to ceramic tanks. I thought that was good, and like I said, I liked the Heracles Pro 1.8 ohm ceramic coil heads. So ceramic's one of those things that we definitely saw people build on, and more companies have come out with ceramic this year. Okay, so let's talk about super tanks. There's really 4 or 5 that kind of pushed themselves up to the top this year, at least in my opinion. If you guys think something else, totally feel free to say it down in the description. Just be nice to each other and whatnot. But the ones that really stood out, first, we got to talk about the TFV8. That was the first, or one of the first, I believe, and people loved that thing. That thing is for the guys that like tons and tons of vapor, wide open draw, lots of wattage. So it is a beast. That's why they call it the Cloud Beast. And that kind of started a new genre. Now, there are some others that are threatening to dethrone the TFV8. And in my opinion, some kind of have. It's still very close. All these tanks are good. You got the Blazer tank from Sense. That's another great one. You got the Road tank that I just reviewed. That's another really great one. And you got the Arctic V12. You got the big Cleto. I think, what is it, the 120? The big boy Cleto. And they're all kind of battling up there, but you really, I don't think, are going to lose no matter which one you buy. And I am going to have a video coming up probably later this month where I compare all those tanks and we do kind of a face-off, just really give you guys the similarities and differences between all of them. So if you only want to buy one, you can, make a better buying choice and see them all up close together. And so let's move on to RTAs now. We saw a couple trends. Lots of dual coil RTAs, velocity style decks, saw lots of them, right? With lots and lots of airflow. The Griffin was probably the most popular, and it was a good tank, although there were a few that I liked a little bit better. I liked the Heracles RTAs quite a bit, but they all kind of did the same thing. They just had a few minor differences, but they were all pretty great. Now then you have the Vape Merlin Mini, which I reviewed about a month or two ago. That one I really like, and it's one that you can swap between single and dual coil, and it's a flavor machine. It's a great RTA, and that's one that is definitely at the top of my list this year, and I don't even think it got as much attention as it deserved. Then you had the top coil tanks. Some people call them RDTAs, some people call them cotton jennies, because they're kind of like the Genesis atomizers that we saw come out like 5 years ago that used mesh. Whatever you want to call them, they're basically a deck on top, liquid in the bottom, coils, the wicks hang down into the deck. And the ones that we saw this year were definitely more geared towards lots of vapor, lots of clouds, lots of wattage, all that stuff. Now, I'm not going to talk about the theorem or put that on my list because I played a hand in developing that one. Some people really liked it. Some people didn't. It was good for single coil. Some people had issues with the glass, but all in all, we kind of learned something there. Also, the India Reserve, I played a hand in developing as well, which is for dual coil, and I'm going to have another video coming up on that one soon where we build it. The one that I think was the most popular, and it was a great tank, was the Limitless RDTAs, and there was a few in that line. Those were quite popular. One thing we saw this year was the open wick slots. You know, it's something that Jabo came up with, and it made it a lot easier to wick those types of tanks. So those top coil tanks are definitely something we saw a big push from. The Avocado is another one that comes to mind. And as far as single coil tanks, I really enjoyed the Serpent Mini from Watofo. Serpent Mini is just a great flavor tank. It doesn't hold a lot of liquid, but that thing's just all about flavor chasing, right up my alley. I get like a nice restricted lung hit off of that thing, and it's good. It's a really, really good tank, especially if you like mini RTAs. If you haven't tried one yet, I would highly, highly suggest it. Now, my last choice is the Kayfun V5. Now, in all honesty, I probably used this RTA the most out of all RTAs this year. The original Kayfun fans that liked more of the mouth to lung, tighter draw, some of them weren't that into this one. This one, I feel like it was like developed for my style of vaping. Again, the restricted lung hits. I use this thing at about 35 watts. It's a flavor machine. It's not perfect, but it's something that I just keep coming back to. Now, if you guys haven't noticed yet, I don't have reviews up on all of these products, but I didn't just want to mention products that I've reviewed. I can't keep up with everything, but there are a lot more products that I've tried that I haven't reviewed yet. So I wanted to bring those into the fold in this video as well and really talk about the ones that I tried that I think were the best, not just ones I made reviews for. Now, let's talk about RDAs. In the last year, one of my top RDAs was the Velocity. First RDA to come out with that 2-post deck that had the 2 holes in each post, and that thing was pretty damn groundbreaking, and that build deck has been used in so many devices over the last year. It's been used in so many RTAs, a lot more RDAs, and it really was one of those that kind of started a new trend, so I gotta give it a shout out again. I probably didn't use as many RDAs this year as I did last year. I kind of want to change that. I want to try more RDAs this year again, like I did 2 years ago, and I kind of want to get back in that whole rotation. But the ones that stood out to me, first and foremost, and I will say this one's probably my favorite, is the Hadley RDA. It's made for single coil. It's a flavor machine. You get airflow from both sides that come and hit that coil. And I just really enjoyed that one. And I think it's great. If you're into flavor RDAs, that's your thing. You can also squonk with it. Pick up the Hadley. For me and my style of vaping, I would say that one's probably on top. Another one I gotta mention and give a shout out to is the Troll V2. Watofo has made so many great RDAs. The Troll, the Sapor, the Freak Show. They've really knocked them out of the park and been on top there when it comes to cheap RDAs. When it comes to inexpensive $30 RDAs, I would say Watofo is one of the best manufacturers for that. The Troll V2 is more for the cloud chasers, and I know a lot of them really liked it, and it's definitely worth a mention for sure. Also worth mentioning is the Recoil RDA from Grim Green and Homeboy OC. I still haven't done a review on that one yet. If you guys would like to see me do it, please let me know. I feel bad. I've gotten so behind this year, but it is another really nice RDA. Comes with 2 caps, has one that's more for a little bit less airflow, still lung hit, and then one that's just, wide open, but it's a solid, well-built RDA. Another reviewer that made a really nice device this year was Rip Trippers. He made the Pharaoh as well. I still want to do a video on that one too, and that's going to be coming up soon, I'm sure, but that's another one that I was definitely impressed with. As far as accessories go, I got to give a shout out to one of the sponsors of the channel, Coilmaster. They've made great inexpensive accessories. They make cool coils. They have great kits. And yes, they are a sponsor of the channel, but I wouldn't have let them sponsor sponsor if I didn't believe in their product and think that they made some really great stuff. So big shout out to them. If you are wanting to get into building, I would definitely suggest checking out some of their accessories. Now, on my last best of video where I talked about the best products for beginners, that had more of the mouth to lung type vapes. So check that one out for sure. That's why I didn't cover some of that stuff here, although there are some more good advanced mouth to lung devices out there as well.